All right, early shout out to the fella that said that he would never watch a buy, hold, risk it, and sell again if Matty was involved. He's coming 934th after coming 110th last year. So it's yeah, his advice is really terrible and he can't play the game. That's how it works, eh, Matty?
Yeah, look, don't need to focus on the haters. Let's just focus on the positives and being top 1K is it's nice. It's nice to be back amongst the elite fantasy managers, that's for sure.
Yeah, awesome few weeks for you, mate. I think what were you a couple of weeks ago before the last two good ones?
So rounds so I kind of after round six I was 4.5K and then just round seven, 2.5, then into 1200, round eight, and then now into 934.
Perfect. Going in the right
So I've just
direction.
been kind of Yeah, I've just been progressively taking down ranks. I think, yeah, round three, I was 20K, then into 10K, then into 5K. So it's just, I'm trying to be halving my rank every week. Not quite this week, but as you could probably have seen with a lot of the scores, everyone was pretty close this week. Everyone was
Hmm.
kind of between the mid 800s and the mid 900s, I feel like. So it was a bit hard to get a march on the pack this week. I think I got about 25, 30 points above the average for the top 1K this week.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. There weren't really too many guys that stood out as much, were they? Like with Cotter's 83, like if you missed out on him, that hurt. Most people have Crichton. Most people end up with with Hines as well. And then like it's really like Garrick. If you had Garrick at 60 odd, probably helped. Other than that, it was yeah, a mixture of the 20s and 30s with the cheap guys, and then 40s and 50s with the more owned guys. So 940 for you, mate. Sort of what's the did you end up playing Garrick? Yeah, you did. You got his score right.
Yeah, so I wasn't comfortable with Strange,
Oh, you doubled up. Nice.
just playing Strange straight up. So I did
Mhm.
this weird move where I put both of them on the bench, and then essentially, if Strange did really poorly, I could trade in someone to play wing fullback or center. That would
Mhm.
essentially and I'd take their score instead. But luckily, I didn't have to make a third trade, and Strange scored 35. So yeah, we're one off max trade at this point. We saved one trade last week, which was a good start. Same as you, I believe. One trade saved so
18.
far.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
18.
So you would have brought in
So yeah.
Armstrong, is that right?
No, so I last week I brought in Garrick,
No, I mean you would
and
have.
I oh yeah, 100%.
Yep.
I would have brought in Armstrong. I
So
just
worked all right.
felt like that trade is going to be more valuable down the track than bringing in a cheapie at this point. And the same is true for this week coming. I could trade in Armstrong. I feel like I just need to save that trade.
Yeah, sweet. And we'll look into that in a second. Make some general plans around your squad going forward. Origin plays, you've got Carrigan, Cotter, probably think Crichton and Hines likely get it. So there's, let's say, four. Turbo for number five. So five Origin players. How many do you look to hold through the buy period, do you think?
In previous years, I typically like to hold max two. I think
Two.
Harry Grant and Nathan Cleary in the past are kind of two that I've often held. Last year, Cleary obviously had that injury backing up, so he was kind of in and out of everyone's sides. But I feel like one or two, if you go above that, you can be fine, but it just really depends on your coverage.
Yeah. If you if you had sort of 22, 23, 24 trades right now, would the strategy be to go pretty hard at selling those guys during this period and just trying to load up as much as you can through the buys?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you have that amount of trades left as well, you probably haven't been buy planning like we have. Unless you did it from round one, where you intentionally chose a bunch of players that played in round 13. If you've got a bunch of trades left, you're probably going to have to use them through this buy period. And I imagine selling those Origin guns is probably a good way to use them, selling them into players that are playing throughout the Origin period.
Yeah. I'm just thinking as well, the alternative there, if you're sitting around our range at the sort of 17, 18, 19 trades, then maybe you could, it's not going to be ideal for your buy period, but to have trades in the back end, maybe you can hold the three potentially the fourth guy if they have a good little schedule, like they missed 13, 16, 19. Maybe it's a Val Holmes or something like that usually backs up. Like Isaiah Yo, I have him as probably the main. I don't know, I feel like I have Isaiah Yo, Holmes, those couple really as the main Origin holds. All the rest, the hookers, the mids, the edges, they seem to not score as well backing up either, do they?
No, I mean, I think Harry Grant is in a class of his own this season because of his bye schedule.
Mm,
He's already had one bye, and his other two byes are in the Origin rounds. Plus, he's not going to be playing 80 minutes, you would think, through Origin.
yeah.
So I think, and there's also no good hooker options. So I think if I had him, he would be an easy hold.
Yep.
But anyone else, to be honest, anyone else is fair game, I think.
Yeah. Just feels like
Except
Yo.
Hines. I think
Yeah.
Hines maybe. And Yo, to be
He just
fair.
plays 80 backing up.
Although
He's a freak.
although, I think it was Cleary Senior that came out last year after Nathan got injured and said he would look to probably not take that risk that he took last year again with his players.
Mm.
And potentially you've got an extra resting or two for the likes of Yo and Cleary this season.
Yeah, maybe it's not every week, but it's one of those 3 weeks or something like that. Hey, could definitely be the thought. And mate, we'll move into your second one you sent me, which is around your team heading into this week. So you've used a couple, leaving you at 16 trades. And talk us through what you've planned for this week, and then we'll go through your buy period sort of setup.
Yeah, so I had Pappenhausen who was out, and I had 250K in the bank, I believe. So Pappenhausen I needed a wing fullback. So luckily Blaze is back this week because I was nearly going to need to trade in two wing
Oh,
fullback
yeah,
or
yeah.
centers. But luckily Blaze came back and he can fill that center spot because I've obviously got Chevy and Strange out.
Mm,
Hopefully Chevy comes back next week and he was just rested. But obviously Strange was my center and I didn't really have a backup besides Garrick. So he's come straight into the side. And then I've needed to trade in a wing fullback. Now I've landed on Drinkwater. The thought
yep.
there is I just want to lock in a gun in that position. Tommy will be being traded out around Origin time, so I'll be losing him. And I just want someone for round 13, someone who's going to get good scores. I know he's got a good run the next 6 weeks or so. Happy to ride that. I know you talked about the idea of trading him out after that 6 weeks. At this point, just looking at my buy planning, I don't think I'll need to do that just because I don't think
Yep.
there's a lot of good options, other options to go to. I'm happy to kind of ride Drinky probably to the end if he's playing well. We saw last year he kind of started really kicking off around Origin time. A lot of big scores came in. He bottomed out, I think, just before Origin
Yeah.
last year.
He's a bit cheaper.
And then, yeah, we all jumped on him at like 500K or whatever he was. And
Yeah.
then he was just killing it for the rest of the year, really, up until maybe the very back end. But yeah, one thing I was gonna say as well before when we're talking about Origin guys is we're gonna have so much cash. So
Yeah.
if we sell the likes of Carrigan, the likes of Turbo, a Crichton or a Hines,
Yeah.
you're going to have so much money soon. So I think it's important to spend what you have in the bank at the moment, try and get points because if you leave too much in the bank, then in a couple of weeks you're going to have even more in the bank because you're going
Yeah.
to be
It's not
trading
needed.
out all these guys. And there's just no one to trade to. Like if you look
Yeah.
at the trade-ins, they're just not as expensive.
No.
The likes of Jolliffe and the likes of even like your Tohu Harris and your Adam Fanua Blakes, that's kind of, and your Dylan Browns, like there's not a whole lot of guns that you can go to from the Origin guys.
That makes sense. So I suppose if there is a cheaper guy that you think can win out on points over the next few weeks, sure. But yeah, it's where Drinky probably outdoes Garrick over the next 3 weeks. Like there's someone that people like a lot of people are still trading in this week. So 120 extra thousand, better draw. I suppose, yeah, the Drinky situation as well. If you have a lot of trades left over, then you could probably do that 6 week strat with Drinky. But guys like us, we probably can't. Hey, even you just have to cop those games off. To be
Yeah,
fair,
and it's like who are you trading to? Like who are you trading to in round 16, really? Because
yeah,
there's everyone's playing Origin still, and then besides that, there's not a whole lot of standout option. So
Mm.
speaking of spending money, I have spent, the rest of my bank to get an extra decent player in my 17. And so at the moment, I've gone for Salmon to Nickera as my
Salmon.
other
Okay.
trade.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. That makes sense. I think Salmon's coming to the end of his tenure. I suppose you could have Salmon, Piakura, or Chan. Could you have done all of those guys? Would that have worked just, or are you just short with Chan?
What do you mean?
Oh, to trade instead of Salmon. Like, do you think
Oh,
Salmon's just
so,
done,
so,
or
so, yeah. Yeah, so I couldn't trade Chan straight to him.
okay.
I could potentially make it work with Piakura,
Yeah.
but after holding Piakura throughout that 4 week injury, and I'm just not ready to give up on him just yet. Whereas Salmon with Preston back on the bench, he got no minutes last week, which is a bit
Yeah, that's
weird.
weird.
You got to think that he's going to get at least 20, 30 minutes this week, which you would think would take Salmon down to a 50-minute role or
Yeah.
something like that, and maybe he moves back to lock. But yeah, I'm trading a round 13 number for another round 13 number,
Yep.
but I feel like I'm going to get a lot extra points between now and round 13. Plus, in round 13 itself, I'd rather be playing Nickera than Salmon.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a good trade out. That'll this little conversation, we'll transfer that over to your buy planning because the midsection, it's a fairly tough one coming into round 13, isn't it? And you've got Sam Hughes, he feels fairly solid now, doesn't he? Like in that 30 odd minute role. We can probably hold him for a good while, can't we?
Yeah, I'm looking to hold him. I think I've got some notes on the top right where our heads are, but I'm looking to hold him probably. Actually, I didn't even put him on the list,
No,
but
you didn't write him
I'm
there.
looking to
Yeah.
hold him until probably round 16 or 17 even potentially, if he can last that long. Definitely selling around 18, but I feel like at the moment, I need an extra mid in round 17. So we'll see what happens with Bateman to see if he gets dual. That could solve some problems.
Back to the edge
But
again.
yeah, that wasn't ideal. Hey,
Yeah.
he just needed one more naming there, and then they've completely changed the position. But I was thinking that potentially Bateman's coming up against. I think Bateman comes if Bateman plays edge, plays the right edge, he comes up against Kai Paul. So
Yep.
maybe there could be some like English thing there where he's got him marking up on his English mate
Or they start
just
having
for
a
this one.
punch on or something.
Yeah, something
Bring
like
back the
that.
bit.
But maybe it's just a single game thing just to test it out, or just because he wants cover on that side or something like that. Hopefully, but yeah, if he's not named there again, then that's gonna throw some spanners in the works to a lot of people that bought him hoping he would get dual.
Definitely. So you got that Nicara buy, which is cool. If Hines and Angus are out, is there anyone sort of sticking out to you, like for Origin, and you have 10 there, as you said? Is anyone sticking out over the next few weeks, or do you think it might be like around 13 play to finish out those numbers?
At this point, you've got McKaylee, who's an option. If he can, I'd like to see him start getting a bit more minutes,
Yeah,
but I mean, like, we can't get him in if he's getting 20 minutes, even though the PPM's so solid.
it's
It's a bit of
incredible.
a risk. But he seems like that kind of guy that will, like, similar to Hughes, where he's just going to slowly make you 150K over time.
Yeah, might score
Potentially,
a
as long as
try or
he,
something.
yeah, and at some point there's going to be HIA. He's going to get extra minutes. He'll score a try at some point. He's just offloading like a beast. So he's an option. Although from now I'm not really wanting to trade until round 13. Besides next week I have to get weeks in. So
Yep.
I've already kind of penciled in Chan to weeks for
Yep.
next week,
Oh yeah, cool.
which
Yeah,
means
so you got 9 right now. Yeah.
which means I'm probably not going to be able to get Armstrong. But I'll look at him again after the break. But the good thing about the weeks and Strange and all that, they have the half dual, so you can pop, if Hines is out, you can pop one of them up to half, or both of them up to half to
Mhm.
cover the half position. But James Fisher Harris is another one that people are talking about as a
Yeah, I forgot
potential.
him
Is around
today.
500K.
I forgot to
Okay, so
mention him in today's video.
500K. low, like 40s average. I don't know. I just don't love getting a mid-ranger in at this point that you're going to have to trade out again.
Yeah, he's not going
So
to be a gun.
there's just no other good mids for round 13, really. Like there's no guns. So hopefully between
Tough.
now and then one will pop up. But yeah, it's definitely tough going. I feel like round 13 and round 14 and round 19 are probably the three hardest rounds. Um, but they're hard for everyone. So everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah, it feels like mid's tough. Half is tough. There seems like there's enough wing fullback options, but picking the right ones is probably the thing. And are you going cheapy down there? Are you getting drinky? Yeah, that's probably the tough sort of thoughts around that one there, mate. Let's go into all right. Some of your best purchases for the week. So I ended up going through and doing a video today around just getting set up for round 13, 14, and 16. Because I think most people, that'll be enough rounds to plan for, and then they can make a couple of trades and sort themselves out for sort of 17 and beyond. Mate, in the hooking position, who's the best buy over either this week and then looking towards sort of round 13, 14?
Look, initially I put down Jeremy Marshall King just because he plays all the bye rounds.
Yep.
But if you have a Lussick or a Brayley already, um, I mean, I've got Egan myself just because Egan and Brayley basically, when one doesn't play, the other one plays. So they have a pretty good um, rotation with the bye schedule. Marnie is an interesting option just because he seems to get involved a little bit more in attack and
Yep.
he's just like he kicks the ball a bit. Um, he's also only got the round 15 buy, so I don't mind that option, although he's like nearly the same price as Harry Grant. So it feels tough to buy. Similar to JMK, to be fair, it's not that cheap, that much cheaper.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like all the hookers feel tough to buy at the moment. I wouldn't be rushing into any of them. I would be happy to just pick them up in round 13 if you don't already have a round 13 hooker, but most people have a Brayley or a Lussick.
Yeah,
So
it's probably everyone's a bit over
yeah.
consumed with hookers at the moment. I suppose Sam Verrills comes up as a bit of a screaming buy this week if you needed another hooker, right?
Yeah, I had a look. What was the go the week before last? He got like 16 minutes or something like that. Did he have a
It's
HIA or
just
something?
he's just been on the bench, so Randall's been playing massive minutes at 9, and sometimes they don't need him. So
Yeah, I'm not. I probably just want to wait and see it a couple of weeks because obviously they've got Keeney on the bench. Who knows how they're going to use him? Are they going to move Brimson to six, and then put Keeney into fullback at some point?
yeah, yeah, it feels gross too.
It's
I don't know.
yeah. I would
Brimson's
just
their
wait.
best player. Brimson and Favita's their best player. I feel like they got to keep him, but yeah, potentially. I feel like it's now or probably don't for Verrills. Like 386 could knock out a
What's
50
his
this
break
week,
even?
but I don't know.
What's,
Who
what's his
knows?
break even? I feel
Brayley
like it
sucked
wasn't
last
that.
week.
Yeah, Brayley. I'm
He
lucky I got him in for like 3 weeks ago. So I got the 40 odd and the 50 odd.
Yeah.
So not too
He's a
bad for me.
20, low 20s for Verrills, but I don't know. You could do it next week, but we probably don't need most people don't need Hooker. I like my head-to-head team. I'm looking at him potentially. I've only got Brandon Smith, and so Verrills could work for that. Yeah. There'll be some people that are interested in it, but he's not heavily on the buy list at all. He's not even brought in by 0.88. So yeah, just someone different that I'm spouting out to the world this week. But yeah, it's probably enough on the hookers, mate. In the midsection, who who's the play this week for one, and then who's kind of the best guy to have over that buy period if you're going to hold them the whole time?
I'll answer the second question first. Honestly, I think Jolliffe is the guy.
Yeah, he's doing great.
I know he's gained a lot of money. I got on him last week, and I know you got him in the week before. But if you're looking around the mids for guys that are potentially undervalued, I think he's potentially 5 points undervalued still.
Mhm.
If we can keep up these 60 odd minutes and for 55 odd points, that would be awesome. And he plays 16, 19. He's got the bye in 17 where you've got the Eagles and South, I think it was. Not super relevant team. So honestly, I think he's the best long-term play. You've obviously got the Warriors guys that, but they only play 16. They don't play around 19, and they're pretty well priced at the moment. I imagine at one point one of them's going to have a lower game for whatever reason, and then they might drop some cash, and you can pick one of them up closer to around 16. But yeah, and then by this week, it's tough, man. It's tough. I wrote um I wrote Finu just because he's the
Yeah.
only guy that I can see that has good value, and he only misses round 13. So he's going to play every other bye round. He's dual position. So that's kind of where I landed. But
Yeah.
yeah, Moali, I see you've got there. I don't hate that suggestion considering um I know part of the reason Demetrio got fired was because it wasn't giving a lot of the South Sport or whatever said he wasn't giving the youngsters a chance enough.
Okay.
So I think especially considering the season's pretty much gone for them, they're gonna start giving a lot of minutes to a lot of guys like Tallis Duncan and Moali. As long as they're performing all right, I
Mm.
think they're gonna see an uptick in minutes.
Yeah.
So
No, it
yeah,
sounds
I
good to
think
me.
he's a good shout.
Yeah. I just was having a little look at anything over like sort of 550K as guys you'd probably want as scorers across this time. And McInnes would be in that list, but he's not a buy this week. He's a hold. Adam Elliott should do okay. He's a hold. Curran, I don't think you can buy now with those minutes. He's a hold. Madison seems too risky. You got the cheapies and sort of Sele, McKaylee, Sorensen not playing. Plath, I think, is in that list. You probably want him over the buy period. He seems like a really good guy to have. Smithy's a little bit under that tier. You wouldn't buy him this week anyway. Obviously on the buy. Harrison AFB, top value. AFB, a little bit more upside. Jolliffe seems like probably, as you said, one of those guys that you could buy this week. Has a little bit more value. Covers some good numbers in the buys. Waddell, Moali, or cheaper guys, obviously. Willison, same deal. Utoikamanu doesn't seem like a buy. Fainu seems like he's the one at the cheap price. And then probably Jolliffe or Plath. They're the three, aren't they?
Yeah, or Fisher Harris, obviously, if you're
Fisher. I
feeling
keep
a bit
forgetting him. So,
spicy.
yeah.
Yeah,
So what's he? Misses 13. No, plays 13, 14. We'll chuck him in there as well. Um, yeah, is it just one with him? Or it's like he seems just a bit all over the shop, hey, for scores.
Yeah,
Like,
he does. And you're going to have Isaiah Yo obviously going to Origin, so there'll be more minutes. But last year we saw that that didn't really
no.
translate to more minutes. Everyone thought it would. So who knows what they're going to do this year? I mean, because Fisher Harris is leaving at the end of the season, makes me more inclined to think that they're going to try and squeeze a little bit extra juice out of him
Oh yeah,
through this period. They're not going to
it's
be
interesting.
as stringent with his minutes, I don't think, because they're not
Yeah.
as worried about the long-term effects of those minutes. So that's a narrative that you could tell yourself when you buy him.
Yeah, I don't mind that actually. Yeah, most of the time you go the other way, and if someone's leaving, they lose their spot, but he's way too important and they love him, obviously. So yeah, they might give him a couple extra a week, especially in the back end. I don't know
Mm.
if they cook him now though. That's probably my only worry. Um, why would you cook him now to then not be ready for the finals? Because that's what they want him for, I suppose, just to be the enforcer there. So interesting. In terms of edges, mates, I'll have a little scroll through the same thing, but have a little chat around who you'd be looking to have for the buy period. And I do think that Britton Nickera trade in. Now that we think Angus is likely to play Origin, especially, that's a really good scorer across that period for sure. Tell us a few others that you might be looking at.
Yeah, well, I wrote down Nickera as my main buy for Edge this week. Besides that, as you can, as I can see in your list, there's just a lot of mediocre options that are more holds than buys.
Yeah.
So I would be inclined to probably hold off to like a bit closer to round 13 when we know exactly what's happening with Origin, who's going, any injuries that will happen between now and then, any suspensions, because I'm sure between now and then a cheapie will pop up. Obviously, we've got Fainu as an option for the dual position.
Yep.
Eisenhuth is an option if you're, yeah, if you're feeling a little bit spicy. I mean, most people have overlooked Eisenhuth, including myself. And look, I'd overlooked Jolliffe for the most of the season as well. But at the end of the day, he's getting the minutes, he's getting the tackles, the base is there. It's not terrible for an Origin play. I don't think he'll be a keeper, but
Mm.
to get him in, the Dragons have a pretty good buy schedule. Only issue he has the buy next week, so it might be one of those ones that you do in round 13 or in round 12, if you are looking at that. But you've got Leilua coming back as well, so it's a little bit messy. There's not really any amazing options. Obviously, Kick Out and Wilton are options as well. I don't love Lane. Preston, we're not sure. KPP is kind of at his price. Bloor, I wouldn't buy now. Um, could be an option, but yeah, I wouldn't buy now. And then
Yeah.
yeah, Bateman maybe, but doesn't play round 13.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
it's
It
not going
seems
to be
like it's
dual.
Nickera this week, or maybe just wait till 12 or 13. It's probably, yeah, I'm in agreement with that for sure. Good stuff. You've made a good trade there. In the halves, as I said, it's a fairly tough one. And as you can see, there's not many on the list at all. For guys that play round 13, 14, it's Brown. How do you see him over as a buy this week? And or is it something you could wait till like round 13 and select him or Moses?
I think if you've got like a Jerome Hughes and you're needing a half this week,
Okay.
then I think he's a fine buy.
Yep.
But outside of that, I would probably be holding off using your dual positions to cover the half until that point. So we want to see what happens when Moses comes back. Brown moves back to 6, and the start of the year he wasn't scoring great. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about the Brown buy. But yeah, if you got a Hughes or someone and you need a half this week, I don't think is a bad shout. I think Walker is probably the only other one that I would look at as a decent buy this week, just
Yep.
because the Roosters are playing really well and um, he's a cheap price at like 570.
Yep.
So he's a decent option, but you got to watch your round 14 numbers because most of us have already got 4 out and we're looking to get weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's why I had him more as the hold, not a buy. But yeah, if it works for your team, it works for your team. Centers, pretty interesting situation, isn't it? You got a few guns, bunch of dual position guys, and then a few cheapies that are doing enough of a job in like the RO killing it. And then Strange, you've got Blaze Talangi back this week. So a lot of different strategies you can go for. Hey, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm all aboard the cheapy strategy at the moment.
Yep.
I've got the Strange Blaze Eero combo. I think with Eero going so well, it's allowed us to just not get a gun in that position, um, or just have someone that's a dual position that can cover there, like a Garrick or a Karaz. Before before that he was an option, I was thinking a little bit about Lomax because he's got the good buy schedule. Amanu would be a great buy should you have a bunch of cash. I think that's the one thing coming into Origin period. We're going to have all this extra cash. Maybe Manu becomes a buy
Mm.
in round 15 after his had the buy, and we've sold the likes of Turbo, and we haven't got anywhere to put that cash into.
Okay. Yep.
So I think he's a potential option then, but because he misses round 14, I think probably hold off for now. So yeah, I think it's Garrick this week if you don't have him and you're wanting to buy a center.
Yep.
Um, outside of that, I don't love picking up Gagai just because he's got the bye next week and he's been a little bit injury prone this season. And you've just got so many cheapies. I just don't think you need to spend the money there at the moment until after Origin, and then you can gun up in that position.
Yeah, for sure. He's the bit of point of difference. Aiken seems riskier every week. And then you got a couple of guesses with like Penasini, feels like a big risk right now. Best, those types of guys for sure. Yep, I agree with Garrick. Burbo, he's back. We're just holding him for anyone who held on. Yeah, that Manu chat's going to be interesting come around 15 for sure. All right, let's finish it off with the wing fullback. It's obviously a little bit more on people's lips this week with Pat being out. You and I are both likely going for Drinkwater. If you weren't going for him, do you suggest like Armstrong still a good buy, or is a little bit of risk involved there too?
I think Armstrong's a decent pickup, although the what's his name, the guy that was supposed to take that spot,
Fletch.
Fletch, he's coming back. He played last week in reserve grade or whatever, or Jersey flag. He's playing
Mhm.
again this week. It is a potential that if they lose this game and Armstrong doesn't play great, that he could lose his spot. So that's another reason why I'm not moving heaven and earth to get him in. I'm happy to just hold my extra trade, wait for weeks next week. Because
Cool.
with Blaze coming back as well, I feel like I don't necessarily need to go there. But if you're already on him, great. And I also
Sarko?
think he's a fine pickup.
Yeah, sweet. Sorry.
Starko was a good pickup last week. I think this week's a little bit more risky and adds to your around 14 numbers.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But yeah, looking back through his stats, they're very up and down. He doesn't have that base of like 35 like a Garrick does.
Mm-hmm. Brimson?
Brimson's an interesting one. He's like
Mm,
very close to Origin if Walsh goes down, and um,
he'd be it for sure. Yeah.
he'd be it for sure. And then he's also gained 100K very recently. I think he could, if he keeps the fullback job, I think he's a great buy. And if he doesn't get injured, he's a good buy. But I just feel like there's too many unknowns at the moment. And when's Jaden Campbell coming back? Where is he going to play? I just feel like it's maybe a couple of weeks too late to get Brimson.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think, yeah, it could work out. It could not. Who knows? And then fight longer, mate. Likely 3 weeks. I don't expect too much more. Maybe a fourth in round 14, but definitely has the talent. That was a sick trial on the weekend.
Yeah, well, I heard Pappenhausen was back around 16.
Okay.
But so either way, I
Yeah.
feel like he's a potential another Trey Fuller like option. If you jump on him this week, you probably make some money. Is apparently scoring really well in reserve grade. So, but do you have the two trades to trade him out in
Yeah.
round 16? He might play on the wing or something if Coates is still out, and you might get him as a green dot for that. But if he doesn't play 16, it's a bit of a disaster.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. There's a lot riding on that. Mates, any of the, like, could you buy Teddy this week?
You definitely could. If you're head to head coach, I would be getting him in this week for sure.
Yeah.
But if you're not head to head, I just
Hard,
think
isn't
it's
it?
probably too late. I think it's probably too late with 3 weeks to go, especially considering he's got the buy in round 14. If
Yeah.
you
It's
didn't
a
have the buy
sell.
in round 14, you could easily pick him up this week, but he's going to be missing, if he makes Origin, which we assume he does, he's going to be missing 4 rounds plus any restings in that
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, I just think with the wing fullbacks, obviously a bunch of them play Origin, that are the good ones anyway. You can only hold one, can't be holding two Origin guys. It's just you're going to be short in 14 and 15 even. Like if there's an injury, it can all happen for sure. So there you go. That's the buys, holds, and sells for the week. I think with Matty Boy, good little plan you got going on, mate. And I know when's the trades going to be starting to be held, mate? If it's two this week.
Look, next week plan is 1. The week after plan is 0. I feel like my team is finally like I've started to get rid of a lot of the dead wood. Once Chan is out of the side, I feel like the side is fine to function. Like I feel like you got your side to a pretty good spot last week with the triple trade, and there's just a certain amount of players you look at and you go, well, they're going to be a trade at some point. But once you get all of those guys out of the team and you've got a kind of vision and plan for the future, it should just be injuries and suspensions, which we're getting a lot of at the moment.
Should.
But yeah, it's just I could do one trade this week and keep Salmon and not get Nickera, but I just feel like that extra points from Salmon and Nickera, I feel like it's important to have your money invested in your team at the moment because at the moment it's going to be hard to climb from here into that top 100 kind of zone. And if you're well outside of that, if you're like 10K or beyond, you really need to start prioritizing points over everything else, really. Like at the end of the
For sure.
day, you can run low on trades and get lucky throughout the end of the year, but you can't go low on points and expect to try and make them up later. I mean, it is possible down the stretch, but when you give yourself a disadvantage at the start, it's very hard to catch up.
Yep. No, it's fair, mate. I do think for your team, without Kaipi's Paul as the 13 number, I think Nicker is the buy for sure. Works well for your team. Thanks, Legend, for coming on. I hope that helped everyone here get set up for round 13. And yeah, hopefully you do have enough trades through that buy period to get through it fairly safely. And if you don't think you're going to have that many trades, then make sure you set up correctly here, like we're helping show you. Thanks, guys. See you later.